Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Poynt webinar. We're going to go ahead and get started here. As many of you already know, the EPSG product team started to run a campaign this month called Product of the Month. This campaign will help us focus our sales and training efforts on one product per month. The product team has released 12 new products over the past few years, and learning all the technology can be overwhelming. The Product of the Month campaign will help us to focus on one product at a time, and sales partners can digest product training tidbits sent via email and social media all month long, attend new training webinars, as well as participate in product contests and promotions. We chose Poynt as the Product of the Month because it's the perfect first step in upgrading all those old terminals in the marketplace today to a much sleeker, smarter device that can start out as a mere terminal and grow into a fairly sophisticated POS system that can help manage and grow a merchant's business. As part of the Product of the Month campaign, we'll also be offering a new training program where sales partners can obtain their advanced degree in product. Shortly after today's webinar, we will be releasing information about how you can participate. The first product sales partners can get their advanced degree in is, you guessed it, Poynt. In order to obtain your advanced degree, sales partners will have to attend training, obtain hardware and or demo credentials, watch video tutorials to learn how to demo the product, and take a test. If you score a 90 or above, you will receive your degree. We will send you a certificate, and you will also be able to update your business card with the certification. Utilize the knowledge you obtain to acquire new merchants using technology that fuels business growth. Stay tuned after this webinar for an announcement regarding the advanced degree program so you can get started demoing Poynt with confidence. On to today's webinar. EPSG released the Poynt product about 6 months ago. We've been very impressed with the product and support and have seen lots of new and exciting enhancements being made regularly to all aspects of Poynt, including the user experience, available apps, and the Poynt HQ, which is Poynt's back office admin tool. Poynt has proven to be the smart terminal of the future, so at this time, I'd like to introduce Joey Marzelli, co-founder of Boomtown, to talk more about Poynt. Joey, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you all for having me on this morning. I'm really excited to talk with you about Poynt in general. Boomtown has actually played the role of the master reseller for Poynt. We do actually all the outsource support, sales support, operations support for the Poynt team. Poynt really wanted to stay a software and hardware company, and we've kind of taken on that role, which has also been really exciting because I've been able to help a lot of different sales reps get out there and start selling Poynt. And we've seen a great response in the market from merchants. So I know that some of you are familiar with it. Some of you, this might be new, but really this is the all-in-one future terminal. This should be the replacement of any kind of credit card terminal going forward. And we're going to go over why and how it's going to make your life a lot easier as a sales rep, because you're probably going to get less calls and you're going to get less complaints, as well as just helping you retain these merchants with obviously value-added services, great third-party apps, all these different services that come along with these new future-proof terminals. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. I know that people like me, we like to keep things quick. Give me 1 second. Let's move to the next slide here. All right, so we have the all-in-one terminal, right? So what does that mean, the all-in-one terminal? Well, for the first time, you have a terminal that works off Wi-Fi, Ethernet, 3G. Maybe if you're a food truck or you're out there in the market. It has a beautiful merchant-facing screen and a customer display screen that can be programmed that had their logo on it. It has nice messaging when you're checking a merchant out, tip adjustment. It has signature. You can send a receipt to email, text. You can do a printed receipt. There's actually a printer embedded in the hardware. You have a mag strip and an EMV chip pin where you can just take also NFC payments for Apple Pay, Android Pay. So right there, you basically have everything you need to sell this terminal, truthfully. I actually tell a lot of the reps, don't make it too complex. Just the way the terminal looks and what you have available is light years ahead of their basic, let's say VX520 or FD1, their symbol terminals, right? And What we're also going to go through is how much software is in here that actually, it's comparative to Square, Clover, ShopKeep. Really, you have the ability to go out there and say, I'm not just giving you a smart terminal. I'm giving you something that's comparable to other maybe mobile point of sale solutions you haven't been able to afford in the past. So how do we talk to merchants about this, right? One of the things I always kind of make the reference is we all together had that migration from our flip phone, small cell phone to our smartphone. My father hasn't made this migration yet, but I'd say the majority of people have. And so really what you have here is the ability in the past to text and talk, and now you have the ability to do so much more, right? So much more as a consumer, and the iPhone, the smartphone, it really makes your life a lot, simpler. It really does everything that you need from a mobility standpoint. It gives you access to more knowledge, more information, and really that's what we're doing on the Poynt side. They know this world. Most merchants know this world. They've taken credit cards before. They understand that there's maybe gift card features, but really not more beyond that. We're going to give them a whole bunch more with Poynt. We're going to give them the mobility aspect, the security aspect, all the new future payment types, third-party apps. We're going to personalize it for them. We're going to be able to do mobile reporting, all that fun stuff that they probably didn't even think they could afford or get access to. And really, this is coming in at a very, very good price point. And so here you can see that it sits on you can sit on a counter. This is the Poynt terminal version. There's a few different versions that are coming out soon, but this is the one that's kind of been running off the shelf because it's stationary too. So you can move it around the store. You can walk around and check someone out on the floor, do more of a pay at the table type of experience. And what I also like about the software is it's very bulky. I never really was a big fan of some of the mobile point of sale software. It was kind of complex and didn't really make sense. Where the Poynt terminal, it's kind of like bulky buttons. So for a new user or someone who hasn't maybe worked with a smart terminal before, it should be pretty simple for them to navigate themselves through the terminal. One thing that I love about Poynt is that once a merchant's up and running, they probably have a few questions. And as long as they've had a decent training and a good activation, they're pretty good to go. A lot of the questions later on are just some how-tos, hey, how do I adjust my tip percentages? Or, hey, how do I, can I take Apple Pay and Android Pay? It's a lot of how-to questions. There's really not many technical questions beyond that. It connects to the Wi-Fi just like any other smart terminal or iPad. What's also nice about the software, though, in the generic software, is it does come with these menu features. So you can check a merchant out with items, modifiers, and you can really walk them through an entire set, and it's pretty customized. There is a Excel, let's say a document where you can drop in the Excel document into Poynt.net, which is basically the module they get on their desktop to run their business. But you can throw in the menu there, so you don't have to build a menu manually on the Poynt terminal. There is a camera on the back. If you look at the top right on this photo, there's a camera on the front and back where you can use that camera for barcode scanning. You can also use that camera for support. I'll go into a little detail about that later. But what's really nice about the Poynt terminal is that the merchants get 24/7 text and video support straight from the terminal, and that is all branded EPSG. So we're never looking away from your brand either. We want to make sure the merchant knows that they're your client and they're having they're always working with you, so they don't feel like they're working with different parties. And then there is, as we were talking about, the Poynt.net, where basically you go in there, get reports by employees, reports by the day, by the hour. You can edit transactions, refunds, settlements. You can do this all from your mobile phone as well. So pretty neat for a merchant coming off a traditional terminal, right? They now have the ability to do so much more, even from home, away from the terminal. And I know that a lot of them haven't had those capabilities before. And it does interact, and it is compatible, I should say, with third-party peripherals like cash drawers, kitchen printer, receipt printer. And I know some of you might be saying, wait, I thought this is the all-in-one terminal. Why are you trying to get more hardware? Well, I think just for a faster-paced environment, when you have maybe a cafe, a deli, or a fast-paced retail shop that may need an external barcode scanner, typically those groups are willing and want to pay for something a little bit more robust in regards to a printer, right? something that's a little faster and pushing out receipt or order prints, I should say, in the back. And then enterprise ready, so you can do reporting by terminal, you can do it by location, you can do it so you can set up multi-location and really oversee all the business, all the different transactions and all the different, let's say, reports at once. So the idea of, getting analytics and reporting really easy, and customer loyalty, building a good customer list is all available through the Poynt terminal. There are third-party apps. If you have questions on the third-party apps and want to know about all the third-party apps, please reach out to your team. They're going to, Melanie was saying that we have different resources for you to get more information on these third-party apps. So let me go through a few. On the left side there, those are actually 3 POS applications that work on the Poynt terminal. So if you're maybe somebody who has more inventory or does need a little bit more of a sophisticated software, you can actually upgrade to a different software. But the generic software should be less than 90% of the merchants that you're working with. Again, this is just that home run, maybe merchant downtown that does have, 30,000 SKUs items that they need to get into the software. You might want to upgrade the software, but really, it's a home run terminal by itself. You have Appetizer, which is an order ahead app. You have Homebase, which you guys might be familiar with, is a employee clock in, clock out, time management and scheduling. eThor, which is incredible integration. It makes the Poynt terminal a pay-at-the-table device for Aloha, Micros, and Dinerware, those legacy products. So you can now walk in there and say, I have the EMV pay-to-table solution for your micro system. So those are typically the juicy merchants, right? They're the ones doing a lot of processing. So pretty neat that you now have a solution for them. And why haven't they made an EMV upgrade yet? Because they can't afford it. It's really expensive. Oracle, who runs Micros, or NCR, who runs Aloha, they've made it extremely expensive for their merchants to make that migration. So you're really in saving the day with this app. But there's a whole bunch of new things coming out. We have a bunch of loyalty apps, gift card apps, really everything that you need to run your business. Again, the generic software has everything you need to run your business. The third-party apps just gives it a little flavor if merchants are looking for something specifically on the loyalty side, gift card side, or again, maybe a little bit more of an advanced POS. How does it compare to other terminals? Well, we've already talked about how it compares to traditional terminals, right? You have the traditional terminal on the right. You can still do the same amount of stuff, but so much more. So again, I just try to keep that sale very easy, because I've seen that your team's actually done really well at selling Poynt, and I know there's a lot of you on this call right now who probably know that you can sell this and know that you're going to be good at it. So just really getting you good start in those conversations and not making it too complex for your merchant, really, because this is the slide right here that says it all. It's going to be so much more, and it's going to be better looking, and it's going to be a much better experience. So doctors' offices love this, chiropractors, optometrists, they love how slick of a terminal it looks. Even lawyers' offices, anyone who just has a credit card terminal, you should be replacing it with this guy. In the mobile point of sale space, I put a Square dongle on here, but I meant more of a Square register, and you have the Clover Mini in Carbon, which will be coming out in about a year. Carbon is probably the only thing that compares to the Poynt in the smart terminal space, but it's still so far behind. And then you have Clover Mini. I think Carbon is going to be way more expensive. Clover Mini is way more expensive on the software side and hardware side. Square, it doesn't have a software fee, but their processing is extremely expensive. It's like 2.75%, or if you get the new Square register, it's 2.5% plus 10 cents. And then you have to pay for about $1,000 worth of hardware. And, I guarantee it's still in an open market, kind of like in the Clover First Data world. It's closed off to only First Data products. Square is closed off to only Square products. Poynt is an open platform, which I think is really neat. It gives freedom to the merchants to really use whatever software and compatibilities they want to run their business. So right there, I love the idea of the open platform. I love the idea that you're not closed off. You're not tied now into one of these processors. You can't really leave them. They kind of get you in there, and it makes it extremely hard and difficult to leave. So I think that's where Poynt does a really good job. Where can I sell Poynt? So I say start small. Go into those retail coffee shops, pop-up shops that have the credit card terminal, and and really, find a way to just start the conversation on, hey, have you heard of the Smart Terminal? Have you heard of the new credit card terminals? Really gauge their interest. I mean, the visual is everything. Once they see it, it's pretty damn easy to sell. I actually I'm out here in San Francisco, and one of the local resellers needed some help, and I wanted to learn more about how to sell Poynt and just get more of an experience, because obviously I'm teaching different sales teams each day to sell Poynt. And one of the things I hated most being a salesperson early on is when I'd have sales managers telling me what to do every day, yet they have never done it, right? So I've hit the street a few different times with a few different resellers to go help them sell door to door, and I will tell you that the visual aspect is people are interested, right? You don't even have to talk. Don't be like me. Don't talk too much, right? Just go in there. If obviously during the off hours, show them, hey, have you heard of the new Smart Terminals, the all-in-one terminals? Kind of like really get them interested and use those types of lines to really get the conversation started, right? It's all about starting a conversation, getting them to ask questions. That's why I say when I usually tell reps don't talk too much, it's about setting the right statement to get them to ask questions. And that's really what you're doing with the Poynt Terminal. You're going in there, you're showing them you're going to do half the sale for you. I really mean it. As you can see here, we've sold to everyone though. We've put a few thousand terminals in the market with our reseller channel, and you can see that there's really no limit to who you should be selling to. Everyone that has a credit card terminal or needs a sophisticated solution, you have the ability to go sell to them. What are customers saying about Poynt? I just put these slides together to let you know that there's a lot of great businesses and different types of businesses using it, right? Just kind of really good overall, just testimonials for the past year that we haven't had really any returns. We haven't had any hardware glitches. Everything's pretty robust. So you're in good hands there. And then how do I sell Poynt? I put this in your slide just because I want to go over some of the questions that I've asked the merchants that have gotten the conversation started. And so we'll have this available to you as well. Here's my contact information. What I'm also going to do for you guys real quickly is go through the mobile HQ application. So let me pull that up. But my email, you can reach out if you have any questions, maybe you hit some roadblocks, and you really need, you just need help, obviously, getting that home run merchant over to the Poynt system. All right, give me 1 second. I want to share a different screen. Let me see if this works. Here we go. And you should see Poynt HQ app training. So again, Melanie, I believe that they have questions. They can just write them in or chat them in, right? And I'm not sure if you're see them.
Yeah, I'll read the questions at the end.
Okay, great. So just, I want to take a little bit more time, about 10 minutes, to go through the Poynt HQ app. And why are we doing this? Because honestly, this is a huge value add, the mobility aspect of it. The merchant gets, and what we have here is basically the merchant gets the mobile HQ app. They also get, again, Poynt.net, which gives them access to all the information online at home, but they can get everything on the go as well. So let's go through some of those features and why this standalone software on the iPhone or the Android is going to drive a lot of value. So one thing is the App Store. Once you go in there in the App Store, you download the app. It is public in the Android and the iOS, Apple Store, Google Play Store. They're going to sign in with the same credentials they sign in on Poynt.net, as well as the Poynt Terminal. One thing about the terminals is they are multi-merchant, so you can have different sign-ins for different merchants if it's a spa or maybe health beauty that needs multiple contractors at the same location. There's great insights here. You get these live insights on different sales that are happening, different trends, different reports, element transactions. I like that they have the kind of pulse metrics of your daily sales or weekly sales. You can do this and customize really quickly on the go. As you can see in this red part right here, you can do daily, weekly, monthly, all time. And you can now do hourly, I believe, as well. You can edit the transactions. So you can do all this on the terminal as well, but really void a transaction, refund. Go in there and just look one up if you had to make an adjustment or resend a receipt. Really easy for you to do that all from the phone. There's a search button, so right when you go into the search button on the top left here, you can basically look up the credit card number or the customer name, and the credit card transaction will pop up. You can basically capture all the details of the history of the transaction as well. And I'm going through a lot of these. There's a lot here. Just want to make sure we get through again most of the important ones. but you can do a chip adjustment later if applicable, which just means we have to make that feature available to you. You can have kind of this loyal customer list of the most loyal customers in your, obviously the ones who are spending the most, spending amount. It's going to tie it to the last 4 digits of the credit card. If you haven't, you can put it in the notes a name for the customer. It's going to visit. So if you dive into the actual customer, the all time, how many visits, how many times it becomes the location to be a transaction, and kind of a breakdown. So really neat from a loyalty standpoint. You can settle out from the app. In this mobile HQ app, again, you can do this all from the terminal, but you can do it again from your mobile phone or Poynt.net online on your desktop. But you can settle an open batch, review open transactions, and you can do this from multiple terminals as well. So you get on the top here, you just click down, and you see multiple terminals. What's also nice here is that you can basically, with the transactions and adjustments on the tip side, not just on the tip side, but you can do remote transactions as well. So you can actually key in a transaction from this software. So right on the phone, you can basically, if you got a call, and you weren't by the terminal, you can just key in the transaction. And here's where you're going to have obviously the ability to just see with the search bar to see all the different capabilities of not just one thing that's pretty interesting about the whole customer loyalty aspect of it is that a lot of groups that they do a lot of transactions on the go over the phone. If they have multiple terminals, they can actually select where the transaction goes to each terminal. So maybe you have multi-location, maybe you have location A, location B, or kind of 2 different businesses you're running, or you really don't care, you just want to get all the transactions on one sheet. You can actually have it divided so you can run different transactions for different businesses, or really run the businesses separate from each other from a reporting aspect. Because it does integrate with QuickBooks. There's something called Data Sync where it's $5 a month into QuickBooks integration, which is seamless from all the reports and settlements that we're looking through right here. But you can also buy paper rolls from the actual app as well. So if you're running low on printer paper, or you can email the receipt. And then here's what a key-in transaction would look like. You just go to card entry, just do the transaction for card not present. And then when you buy the paper roll, you can buy with Apple Pay, or you can manually enter your credit card information and then have the shipping address of where you're sending those paper rolls to. Because the paper rolls are going to be a little unique for Poynt. I do love the live notifications. So, as transactions are happening or close out, if you have a settlement, you get live notifications on your mobile phone as well. So this is pretty neat to see that basically, I'm running multiple locations, or I'm running one location. On the business owner, I step away, I can see what sales are, I can send up by different transactions or just by reports. Obviously, you don't want every transaction maybe unless you do large transactions, but just the report aspect is good enough for most of the business owners. All right, so Melanie, that's basically it for, again, a quick overview of Poynt, and then the overview of the Poynt HQ app training. Just want to see if we can go through some questions now to keep it around that 30 to 40 minute mark.
Thanks, Joey. So you'll see we don't have a shy group here. I have a lot of questions. If we're not able to get through all of them, we will follow up with any unanswered questions later today. Okay, so first question, how do you use Poynt with the phone, let's say for deliveries for a deli?
How do you use Poynt with the phone for a delivery for a deli? Good question. I need a little bit more context on what you're doing here. So if you're doing a delivery, the way I would do it is, basically they probably call in, you take the order over the Poynt terminal, and then if you had the mobile HQ app available to the driver, they could come in and they could see the different orders as well. You would save the order. Unfortunately, you can't do a pre-authorization, so you'd have to make the full charge at the time of the order. But I would basically make the order, charge them, save the order, and then they can go in there and they can look up the order. And in the notes section of the transaction, I would just put a little bit more specifics just in case you did have multiple orders and the driver needed to look it up. Maybe just even saying like Joey's order or this is Tom's order. If you put that in the notes section, it would be really easy for the driver to obviously see the recent orders, but just look up the one that's specific, maybe to that address as well. And then they can also put in the notes the delivery address if that helps. But it's kind of a manual process right now. Not necessarily understanding entirely what the context of the question is. If they have more specific or more kind of scenario-based, more of a scenario-based, I'm happy to kind of go through that.
No, I think that was a good answer. For law offices, how many mids can you have?
So you can have 10.
Multi-mid is limited to what, 10?
10 per terminal, that's correct.
Okay, great. So I like this next question. How many different applications can it handle? I know maybe, theoretically a lot. Have you seen the device slow down if merchants add too many third-party apps?
No, I have not, and it's actually been something that I've been kind of sensitive towards and kept an eye on. And the reason is, Melanie, as being Boomtown was we are the 24/7 support. You can imagine we take a lot of reliability, for the overall customer experience, right? So we are always super passionate to learn. If you put on too much inventory, too many applications, is that going to slow down the app, which is going to make obviously a bad experience for the merchant, which obviously then makes the whole app market kind of troublesome at a whole, right? Luckily to date, even our most complex merchants that have, thousands and thousands of inventory items and they use all the applications, we haven't seen the Poynt terminal software slow down or become difficult to use. So that's been, overall 2 thumbs up, on the experience so far. And then, I think that as, more applications come down, we'll keep an eye on it. But for right now, I would have full confidence that you're not overloading these terminals with the amount of space they have on them.
Great. Next question. How many SKUs? I think it's 500 on that, right, with modifiers, and also you can categorize. Do you want to add to that answer, Joey?
Yeah, so 550 SKUs with modifiers, and then what you can do is if you need to, again, upgrade the eHopper application, that third-party POS app, they can hold up to 40,000. So, I think that typically that's enough of a gap to say, most of your merchants don't need over 550, and then if they do, then they might as well be making an upgrade anyway.
Agreed. Can they switch processors? No, right?
The terminals are locked to EPSG, which is a good thing for you guys. So nobody can go in there and wipe them out. If your own merchant needs to switch processors, because you own the device, we could probably work with you to do that.
Great. Can we do discount for cash on this, or will we be able to offer it soon? Joey, I'm not sure if you're aware of the discount for cash program, are you?
Not necessarily your program, but I do know that there is discounts for cash coming in Q1 of this year.
Okay, great. So there's your answer for that. I didn't know that. That's good. Can we get a printed list of top prospect categories to target? Yes, we'll be happy to send that out to the group. Can you adjust a tip or a void after the sale has been batched?
You can. There are the same implications that you're going to have with any of the other terminals, and it might get flagged depending on if you tip adjust later. But again, the way I look at it is you should always be tip adjusting before you do a batch. You can always edit those types of things later, but again, it might be slower to receive those funds and get approved by the processor. That actually is typically processor-based as well, Melanie. There really isn't much control that Poynt as a software, Boomtown as a service company have over that. Typically, I want to be sensitive towards the different groups you're working with, but typically with a lot of the processors we have on Poynt, they're okay with it. It's just something that I wouldn't talk about, and I would probably steer away from the merchant. I would just instruct them that tip adjust is probably best before the batch.
Okay. How do you toggle multi-merchant on the screen? For example, a salon that has multi-chairs, each with their own merchant account.
Yeah, it's actually pretty simple. I'm going to answer this in 2 different ways. Real quickly, to switch between the merchant, you can just click the top button in the top right icon, which has the name of the merchant, and then you'll have a list of merchants. You go in there, you click the new merchant, and then you put in a 6-digit code. And so those 6-digit codes can be obviously programmed for each of the individual businesses. So that's the easy way to do that. What's also nice about that, though, is that's actually how you change employee, too. So you can have different permissions for the terminal where you have an owner, a manager, and an employee. And it's exactly the same thing. It's just that, obviously, if you're changing employee, you go in there, have a 6-digit code. It's just changing the employee on the business. But it's the same exact task or view for changing the actual merchant.
All right, great. Next question, I like this one too. I'll tell you the way I answer it, and then Joey, please enhance my answer as you see. What's the difference as far as functionality between Poynt and Clover Mini? What I've been telling our sales partners is certainly from a service standpoint, you cannot compare Boomtown support with Clover support. I mean, Boomtown is far better. We've had, although, you know, we do want to support the Clover sales in the marketplace, we know there's a lot of interest in Clover out there, but from a product perspective, it's a good product, but from a service perspective, it is not. So that's my main selling feature between Clover Mini and Poynt. Joey, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just think that, you know, we're built, well, one way to give you guys a lot of kind of faith is that Boomtown, you know, we do a lot of outsourced support for large first data that just couldn't rely on first data anymore because we really handle the technical aspect. We work as not just a how-to and an FAQ for the Poynt software, but we're going to work as a kind of a geek squad too. So if their Wi-Fi router is the issue, or their cabling is the issue, or their kitchen printer is the issue, away from the Poynt terminal, we're not going to say, oh, call that provider, call that hardware company. We're really going to take on the full issue and make sure that your merchant is up and running again. And just from comparison to Clover Mini in general, I mean, again, that open market where you're not closed off to just first data, you know, focused products. You're in a market that's affordable, and it's going to be, I mean, just the software alone is probably going to be half the price. The hardware alone can be half the price. I mean, overall, you're really just coming in with a home run solution for that merchant and driving so much more value from a support aspect as well as a software aspect.
Agreed. Okay, so how far back are the transactions stored?
It's actually indefinite, so you can look forever. You can look back on the transactions tab. You can just you can always just swipe down and see the most recent ones, but because it's in the cloud, we hold that information indefinitely.
Great. Recurring billing, is that something that Poynt supports?
Not today. One of my feedback, I have a weekly stand-up with Poynt product team, and that's one that I'm pushing heavily on. I know that it's something that I used to, when I was selling mobile point of sale and terminals, there was one thing, pre-authorization, subscriptions, and then what was the other one that I put in? I said pre-authorization, subscriptions, and then scheduling. So those are the three that I put in because I know that those three go across a whole wide range of different industries that you can kind of target with the Poynt terminal.
Okay, great. Do you want to talk a little bit about Poynt 5, where that is? We are getting a lot of questions in regards to mobile orders. So, you know, I know with the Poynt HQ, you can do mobile transactions, but they have to be hand keyed. With Poynt 5, that's an actual payment device. Where are we with that?
Yeah, no problem. So we have about 200 in the market right now on pilot merchants. We just want to make sure that everything's working properly and that, you know, that we aren't just going to ship this out and see how it goes, right? We want to do that with our pilot merchants. And so it's going really well. We haven't had any returns out of all the pilot merchants. We're updating the software just based off a little feedback, but once that's done, I'm hoping, and you guys can fly to California and kick me in the knees, but I'm really hoping for Q1 release. And then I'm also hoping for very, you know, probably half the price of the Poynt terminal from what I've seen in just kind of talks amongst the engineers. That's
great. Some questions on 3G. We haven't released 3G here at EPSG yet because we're just waiting to work out some details with the SIM cards, but certainly within the next couple of days, look for announcements about 3G being released. 3G is it's actually a different piece of hardware, so you could order the device with either Wi-Fi or Ethernet, and then there is a 3G device that has 3G, Wi-Fi, and Ethernet, and I believe it's $50 more than the just Wi-Fi and Ethernet devices. So look for a lot more information about 3G. It'll be released within the next couple of days. Okay, a couple more questions. Can Poynt passwords protect refunds and voids separately?
So I'm sorry. Say that again.
Sure.
The question is?
Yep. Can you password protect refunds and voids separately? So allow for voids, perhaps, but you
Gotcha.
Utilize different permissions for refunds.
Yeah. So there's only 3 permissions today, but the employee permission, if you have the user under employee, they can't do any adjustments on any of the transactions. That would probably be the easiest. And then you have manager who can do a lot of the adjustments. They just can't change the back office. And then owner can change the back office and do everything.
Okay. Wow, we have a ton of questions. Will this work on wood forest? Can you board on the First Data platform?
Yeah, it works on wood forest just fine. In the MCS, probably just fine.
Okay, great.
Wood forest is Keysys and First Data, I believe. So you're good on both of those. Okay,
great. And can you talk a little bit about the EMV chip process? Like, is it a quick? How do you find the speed of the transaction with EMV?
It's I mean, honestly, it's I think EMV's come a long way, and even just in the past year, but it's a pretty fast transaction. I'd say, we've timed it a few times, in 3 to 5 seconds is what the transaction looks like from the EMV if you dip in the EMV card.
That's great.
Yeah,
okay.
There's definitely there's not an awkward wait, is what I like to call it. So
that's good. That's good. All right. Well, there are a lot more questions, but what we're going to do is we'll get back to each one of these questions individually to make sure you guys have all your questions answered. I appreciate all of your participation. We had a great attendance today, and I appreciate everyone's time. Joey, thank you so much for joining us. You'll be hearing from us a lot more often, I think. Hopefully we can get a lot more of these Poynt devices out in the marketplace. And enjoy the rest of Product of the Month featuring Poynt, and a lot more information, training, and contests and promotions being released shortly. So thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.